You know that feeling when you get back from a trip and you feel like you saw everything on the list, but you didn't really experience anything? Well, today we're going to dive into a totally different way to see a place. And this comes from the book In City Itineraries, Udaipur. The idea here isn't about seeing more, it's about seeing differently.
This one line, wow, it really sets the tone for everything we're talking about. It suggests a way of traveling where we just leave all our expectations behind, all that frantic energy, and just show up with the most basic thing we have, our own presence.
So let's just start right there. What if we actually threw out that list of must-see sites? What would happen if instead of trying to conquer a city, we just let it welcome us? This is the one question that really changes the whole game.
Okay, so if we ditch the checklist, what do we do instead? Well, this approach is all about a huge shift in our mindset. It's about moving from consuming a place to actually connecting with it.
And you can really see the contrast here, can't you? So often we're just trained to look for the big spectacle, right? To collect the sights, get the photo, and prove we were there. But this idea asks for the complete opposite. It's about presence over performance. It's about finding the silence that lets a place speak to you. And it's about listening, not just looking. What this means is that the real souvenir you bring home isn't some trinket from a gift shop. Nope, it's an internal shift. It's this new ability to be quiet, a feeling of peace. Almost like you've built a new, quiet room inside yourself that you can go back to, long after you've unpacked. All right, let's really break down this first practice. What does it actually look like to arrive somewhere prepared in this totally new way? You know, it sounds almost ridiculously simple, but is actually a pretty radical thing to do. It means you have to trust your own attention more than you trust your itinerary. It means letting yourself get pulled along by curiosity, not by some route you planned out weeks ago. You just show up, take a breath, and start to notice what's actually around you. And this is what happens when you do it. In the book, when the travelers go to the city palace with this mindset, the palace doesn't just put on a show for them. Instead, it starts to reveal itself in all these small, quiet ways. A handrail worn smooth by a million hands, a faint footprint. It's like the place itself is giving them permission to see the real life that was lived there. So all this noticing starts to build into something bigger. You start to understand what the book calls the grammar of a place. It's about how a city communicates in ways that go way beyond its famous monuments. A place has its own language, and it's spoken in these tiny, ordinary gestures. You can find it in the shine on a banister, the specific creak of an old gate, or even just the way a janitor's tools are laid out so perfectly. It's in the repairs, too, like a patch on a curtain that becomes its own little piece of art. This is the real vocabulary of a city. And all of this leads us to a really powerful idea. The most important history isn't always in the big, grand displays. A lot of the time, it's hiding in the humble, everyday things. So if it's not in the official plaques on the walls, where does a city actually store its memory? Where do we find it? It's kept right here. In the exact curve worn into a wooden stool, a perfect record of someone who sat there day after day. It's a tiny, private gesture made visible. It's also in a curtain that's become soft from being touched and fixed over and over again. Its story isn't about its original fancy design, but in the patient hands that kept it going. And it's here too. In the specific way a boatman ties a knot in his rope, a skill taught to him by his father or his uncle. That single action holds the entire memory of a craft, a family, and a way of life. So after you spend your time traveling this way, what do you actually leave with? I can tell you, it's not about what you've packed in your suitcase. It's about what's changed in your awareness. This is the real prize, the ultimate takeaway. You don't just leave with a camera full of pictures. You leave with a retuned way of seeing. You carry home this brand new ability to see how profound the ordinary world is. And that's a skill you can use absolutely anywhere. So it all kind of boils down to this really simple 4-part practice. You arrive with your presence, not your to-do list. You listen for the stories being told in all the little details. You find the deep history in everyday things. And you leave not with more stuff, but with a totally transformed way of paying attention to the world around you. And you know, in the end, this isn't just a guide for traveling to faraway places. Think about it for a second. What stories are hiding in the worn-down steps of your local library, or in the sound the door makes at your favorite coffee shop?
What could you discover right where you are if you decided to become a traveler in your own life?